Hello and welcome to the Legendary Backlog. We're glad you're here. In our show, both hosts are longtime friends named Brian, and we cover a game over 5 years old in each every week. This is episode 15, and we'll be covering Grand Theft Auto 3. What a game to cover! I am Brian, and you can find me at TryWinBrian on X. You can follow the show on Instagram and Facebook at the Legendary Backlog, and on X you can find us at Legend Backlog. If you listen to this show and you like it, please follow us on Patreon at the Legendary Backlog. It's free and it will give you access to all our sites. We're trying to build a community of people who love games. My co-host is also Brian. Brian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Brian. Yes, my name is also Brian, and you can reach me at Nostalgic Pixel on X, Blue Sky, and Instagram. I also have a YouTube channel, Nostalgic Pixel, and a Twitch channel, Nostalgic Pixel TV, and lastly, nostalgicpixel.com. So, Brian, how's your week been going?
My week's been pretty smooth. Work was pretty smooth. Family life was pretty smooth. I got to play a lot with my daughter, on Final Fantasy. She's going through Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, which I already beat a while back. But basically, she's at the end of the game, so the boss fights are getting really hard. So I've had to play a lot of it for her this week. That was pretty fun to go back and see the boss fights. Man, that Rufus Shinra fight is no joke. I don't know if you know who Rufus Shinra is, but he's the president that takes over after the original president dies. It's not a spoiler. This game's been out forever.
Yeah.
And anyways, he fights you, but he uses a shotgun, right? And the only time you can really attack him is when he's loading, and it's almost impossible to dodge his fight. His missiles are his magic in his gun, so it's like really hard to dodge. So that was a tough fight, but we made it through that, and we finally got to chapter 13, which is the second to the last chapter. So she's right at the end now, so she's pretty excited.
Well, that's cool.
Other than that, I just been chilling. Oh, I took Ashlyn last night. My wife took Lizzie shopping for some clothes for school and camp, and so I took Ashlyn out to a restaurant, and we went to this one Mexican restaurant we like this in Fate, Texas. And their thing is they give you this big bottle of water, and they give you glasses, like really nice glasses, and you just pour the water in there, right? And for some reason, my daughter thought that because of that, the water tasted better than any other water she's ever had. So that was pretty funny. She's like, "Dad, this water is so amazing." I was like, "Really?" It's just the same water we everywhere else, but I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, well, if you ever need to, hey, you want to go get some great water? I know a place. They'll serve Mexican food.
She doesn't really like Mexican food, so she's really picky on what she eats. So I actually took McDonald's to the restaurant for her. Not ashamed to do that. She's my daughter, and I want her to eat too. But she was still hungry after she ate all her McDonald's. So I ended up getting her the dessert. It was this brownie with cinnamon vanilla ice cream, really.
Mm-hmm.
She just thought it was the best thing in the world. Like, we had a really good time last night, so that was pretty cool. So what have you been up to, Brian?
Well, thanks. Yeah, Brian. So this week I've still been doing my daily walks and stuff. I've been getting them done either around like sundown or earlier in the morning, like today. It's getting hot around here, so it's nice to get them done earlier in the day or later in the day. Also, I've been working on writing up different scripts and stuff for my YouTube channel, and in the background, I've been watching some movies. And one movie I came across this week that I watched, well, it's not necessarily a movie, it's like a TV. It was a TV program in like '92 called Ghost Watch in the UK. And it was really interesting. It was like a TV show special that they had on around like the Halloween season, like in October. And it's a show that's like looking at the paranormal activity and stuff, and it looks like a live program or whatever, and it's all recorded. At the time when it aired, it really freaked a lot of people out because they thought it was a real like regular like news or type program and not like a recorded show for entertainment purposes. I got a lot of phone calls, people scared to death on it. So I got my curiosity. So I watched it. obviously knowing that it was, is all entertainment. I wasn't, too freaked out about it, but it was pretty interesting to see what passed in the 90s in the UK for that kind of entertainment. And these days we have so much reality television and stuff that we're so, that stuff wouldn't necessarily phase us. And then I also, like I said, while I was kind of working on stuff this week, I had some movies on, and I watched all three Major League movies: Major League One, Two, and Back to the Minors this
Oh, I
week.
love those movies. I love those movies. They're awesome.
Yeah, they're really entertaining and just easy to kind of have on in the background while I'm trying to do stuff. So that was fun watching those this week. I hadn't seen them in a long time. And then I even watched like a Babe Ruth documentary. I was so interested in baseball this week. It was just on my mind.
You know what? That show that you were talking about, right? Everybody thought was real.
Ghost Watch?
Yeah, Ghost Watch. Everybody thought was real. That reminds me of this time when I was in middle school. I can't remember. I think I was in seventh grade. I went over to my friend's house, and there was like four of us, right? And we set up a tent in the backyard. And then their mom came out. His mom came out and said, "Hey, you guys got to come listen to this on the radio, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And we started listening to it, and it was an alien like invasion, right? And it was on the radio, so like we thought it was real, and we got really worked up.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out it was the replay of the War of the Worlds, the 1938 radio drama.
Yeah, they played that for us in school. I remember we learned about it. It was fun to hear about that.
Yeah, but me and my friends were so freaked out. We thought it was real, and like we were asking, let's check out other radio stations, and like they didn't have it on, so we were like, "What's going on?"
And that's exactly the way people felt when it first aired, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this was similar in that vein. It was kind of like a War of the Worlds type of deal. Anyway, like I said, it started with like paranormal activity. And at first, it was a real slow burn, right? So it's like it comes off and they're trying to, like, we've got these psychics and all this. And it's, it's like, okay, this is kind of hokey or whatever. And then, like, it's like this family and there's like this little girl who gets caught, like, making up, like, noises and stuff. They catch her because they have cameras everywhere and, like, night vision and stuff with heat vision or whatever. So they're like, oh, okay, it's kind of a hoax. And then things start get really happening and then impacting like the studio is lights and everything. So impacts there. And then, so like you could see if you missed the disclaimer in the beginning that said that this was all entertainment and not real, that if you missed that blurb in the beginning, that you could start watching this thinking, oh man, what's going on over there? Yeah, it was interesting to see.
I think that's really neat. So let's go ahead and get into the game of the week.
All right.
Grand Theft Auto 3. Grand Theft Auto 3 was released in 2001. It's an action-adventure game developed by DMA Design and published by Rockstar Games. It was the first 3D game in the Grand Theft Auto series. Did you ever play any of the previous ones, 1 and 2?
Oh, the top-down ones earlier?
Yeah.
I only played those after I played Grand Theft Auto 3 out of curiosity, but I really didn't get into the series until 3. How about you? Did you ever play those?
No, I never played 1 and 2. I watched someone play it, though, for about an hour one time, and they had it on the Dreamcast, I believe.
It was amazing to see how much of the game was actually there in those early versions, even though it was like top-down. Like they had a lot of it figured out well before the third one came out. It's just the fact that everything was like in 3D and the camera changed. It made it, such a large shift. But all the pieces were there. They had like already made, like you said, 3 of them actually, with the UK one being like its own entry.
But when I was doing research for this, I never heard of DMA Design. But it turns out that's Rockstar North, Rockstar Games UK Limited, formerly known as DMA Design Limited.
Yeah.
I had no idea about that. That's a British video game developer and studio for Rockstar Games. So I think that's where they make the main Grand Theft Auto right now. Isn't that like where they're making 6?
I wouldn't be surprised, but considering the size of those games now, that they'd even pull in other Rockstar parts as well to do it all.
Yeah, probably all over the globe work for the Grand Theft Auto 6.
But if I remember correctly, it seems about right. Every time we'd boot up a Grand Theft Auto, they would say like Rockstar North and Rockstar Games, because Rockstar North is a very familiar term of all the Rockstar like sub studios.
So what were your first impressions? Do you remember the time you first played GTA 3?
Well, I remember the first round of playing it. So like as you mentioned, this game came out in 2001, and that was around October, which turned at that time I was in college living with some roommates. We played this a ton at the time. Like this was just constant, and anybody who in the past wasn't necessarily playing like the PlayStation that was hooked up in the living room, they were playing this game, and we had a lot of fun like taking turns and passing the controller around and stuff. Yeah, we played so much of this, and then a lot of the times, but it was like if there was only a few of us around, we would actually do a lot of missions. But if a lot of people started showing up to hang out, it would basically be like, okay, take your car, drive around, get as many stars as you can, and see how long you can last before before the eventual takedown or whatever. But just see how long you can hold out. We had a lot of fun doing that. But like when it was just a few of us and we didn't have like much company, oftentimes we were constantly going through the story missions and beating the game. It was a lot of fun. We kind of did a whole completion through it. So I played a lot.
My first time playing it was very similar, right? I didn't buy new video games all the time back then, but I did have a job, so I was able to get this whenever it first came out. I just remember reading the IGN review talking about how great it was, and I was like, okay, I gotta try this. I never played the other two, but I gotta try this. This is just supposed to be an amazing game. Well, anyways, I got it, took it home, started playing it. I only played it for like 20 minutes, and then all of a sudden, my friends came over just to see if I wanted to come outside and play football. And I told them I got Grand Theft Auto 3. They're like, oh my God. So we all went in the living room, and we basically did the same thing you guys did. Was we just basically caused a bunch of chaos, see how many stars you get, long you can last. The protagonist for this Claude, he doesn't take much damage. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you really need body armor to like make it.
Body armor definitely helps. One guy with an assault rifle can take him down pretty quick.
Which that's pretty close to reality, right? He's not supposed to be a huge bullet sponge, so you have to like really choose how you get into these things. Like there was a mission where I had to go kill one person specifically, like a hit, while he was protected by the triads. I first started trying to go in there and just like I'm gonna just mow down every triad. As you can attest, the controls are a little wonky, so it's not as smooth as you would be today, just going around sniping, shooting things out. But it's still doable. But the thing is, like, I couldn't just like shoot them all because, as you pointed out, I'm not like a bullet sponge, and so the way to beat that mission was just to focus on my target, kill him, and then escape.
Mm.
I could take people out on my way to escape, but I'm not trying to mow down a whole territory of triads. That's just not going to work right now.
One of the things I think we need to kind of go over, just for people that may have not known about the Grand Theft Auto series, this was an open world game. Arguably one of the first. It was 3D. You played this protagonist Cloud. He basically goes around in town and does missions and for gang members and stuff like that. In the original story, he starts off, he gets arrested, kind of betrayed, and then all of a sudden,
well, he escapes.
Yeah, then he gets out of prison, and then that's kind of where your story starts. But this is a 3D game where you basically can run around an entire city. There's tons of cars. The buildings you can't really go into too many, only like the ammunition shops and stuff like that. One of the things I noticed about going back to it is I didn't realize the main guy never talked at all.
Oh yeah, he's completely silent. All the future releases, since the character has a dialogue and there's a lot more story to it. But yeah, this is kind of Claude is a silent protagonist. It's kind of interesting because you can really put yourself in this character, because while all the other voice acting is really great, he's completely silent. It's like Link.
I thought that was really interesting because when I was doing the first couple of missions I was doing, I was like, okay, yeah, he's not really talking. He's just a yes sir person because he's getting inside the gangs, or he's working his way up the ladder. But later on, I was like, yeah, this guy just doesn't talk at all, Okay. Well, I think it's important to remember that the first two were 2D, but they basically were the same game. You drive around cars, steal cars, beat people up, shoot people, that kind of thing. But this was a big transition to the 3D. And at this time, 3D was really coming out really strong in the PS2 life cycle. It was around for the PS1 and N64 and stuff like that, but the PS2 really took it to a new level where everything was really recognizable.
Yeah, and this game really felt like a whole new generation leap from the PlayStation 1. Like this PlayStation 2 game, this was a huge change, a big shift. with this open world and just driving all around, like what you weren't like set up with a ton of loading screens. You had a long loading screen at the time, but no, it was usually just to set everything up.
Just the city itself, Liberty City, that's where this takes place.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mix of like New York and other cities, pretty much. It's just amazing how well they got that to run, like for the first time on a PS2. Because it's a sprawling city, it's huge. You can literally drive around it. It takes a while to go through the whole city. There's different parts of the city, like there's Chinatown, there's an airport, there's all these different parts of it.
Yeah, and the thing is too, like as we talked about, like played this game so much, going back and driving around this world, like I have really good memory of this town. Like I know where things are still. Like I drove around so much, it's like, oh yeah, there's this, and I need to get to this place, and I can, while the map and the GPS is useful and nice for expediency at times, but like just driving around this place, I've spent so much time in this game. I feel like I still know my way around, which is something.
One of the things that I missed in this one compared to later Grand Theft Autos was it didn't give you like the yellow GPS marker on where to go. You just kind of put a point on the mini map and you have to make it there. But what I realized is I kind of actually like that because it gives you like more options. It's more like you make your decision on how you're going to get there.
But if I remember correctly, I was noticing that too. But I remember I used to be able to just put a point and give me a line direction anywhere. Yeah, I was noticing I wasn't able to kind of pull that off the other day, but I just knew where I was headed, so just kind of went where I needed to go.
So what did you think about the vehicle physics? That's a big part of the game. Just let everybody know most of the time during missions you're driving vehicles just to get somewhere. You're driving vehicles. If you try to run somewhere like that's pretty far away from where you're at, it's going to take forever.
Yeah, it's kind of in the title Grand Theft Auto, so it lends itself to you walking up to a car, pulling someone out of it, and driving off in their car, or a parked car or whatever. But like you're just a lot of driving, and I can tell you, going back and driving the game, you remember on some of the cars are really floaty, but it doesn't seem to matter. However, like the way cars drive completely vary from model to model. Like you can get in like a big truck and it's going to drive like a big truck. It has that slow acceleration and everything. And then if you get into some of the sports cars, they're great. And the way I remember it, like some of the best cars in the game were like the FBI cars. And the only way the FBI cars would show up would be like if we were doing what we were talking about earlier, is like causing a bunch of chaos and getting all these star ranks. The fun part in doing that was usually the challenge is to get the 6 stars and then steal an FBI car and get it in your garage and save it in your garage without dying. And then you could use that, you could say keep that save and then pull that car off to do missions, because not only did it handle way better and turn and the acceleration was great, it was also like exterior tank. So, because the one thing I've noticed when you're driving around this car, if you like just tap something, like your hood's just completely busted, or like it's just your car's break so easily.
If you just like barely tap a pole, your hood just like pops up bent.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with what you're saying about the cars and the different styles. I thought that was pretty neat, especially for that long ago, back in 2001. Like if you get in a big, like old car, it's real floaty, hard to turn. If you get in a sports car, you could just zoom all over.
Oh yeah, like those Cadillacs.
One thing I noticed about driving in this game compared to the later Grand Theft Autos, it seems like people would like almost purposely walk in front of you.
Yeah, they'll dive in front of you. Like, like okay, squish.
One time I was trying to exit a parking lot and like people, just like 4 people just walked right in front of me and wouldn't move. I was like, okay, I guess I got to run some people over.
Yeah, you can only give them so much room. And then if they're not going to get out of the way, too bad. Also, that is interesting too. Like, so this game is, as we mentioned, it's pretty adult and stuff, and that's cool. At least, was for us at the time. But like, the cover, it's, a bunch of comic characters all drawn. Everything's very drawn. So it was some misleading to some parents at first. They didn't quite, at first know what to do with it, because this was like a first of its, kind, or where it's really out there with everything. So some people were kind of upset about that. I don't know. after a while, this game gained a big enough reputation. Everyone was aware of it. But at first, I remember they were saying that because the cover was just kind of in a not very descriptive, and it just looked like a cartoon or a comic, that parents that weren't paying attention just like to the M were like, okay, here, get it for them, no problem. Only find out later when they're hearing the dialogue going, what would I just do? Because I remember when I booted up, I had my game save. My character had like 7 health. I was trying to remember, how do I get health in this game? And so I went and picked up a streetwalker and tried to figure out how to get health there, and then somehow ended up with 2 stars and switching out cars like 3 times. And then it got really hard to get rid of 3 stars. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's really hard to get rid of like 3 or 4 stars. You have to basically know like some spot that you can like go to where the police can't get you, or you just have to infinitely outrun them, which is really hard. And you know, like when you're driving and you got stars, more cops show up. You know, and like you'll just be driving by a street, and all of a sudden there's cops turning right after you. They just kind of spawn all over you. So yeah, getting rid of the stars is really hard, but it's a challenge, but it can be done.
Oh yeah, it can be done. And some areas, if you memorize where they are, they'll like lower your star ranking. Or a paint and spray is always good. So if you remember where that is when you're running around, you can hit that up, and it's sometimes hilarious where you can have all these stars and they're like all around you, and you just kind of squeeze into that paint and spray, and then nope, no more stars, and all the cop car AI is like trying to figure out what to do. Pretty funny.
Speaking about finding places, when I was doing research on this, I didn't know this, but there's actually like whole parts of like cities, like across like the water and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
that were left in there but weren't fully finished. I thought that was pretty interesting because you can actually fly the Dodo, which is the only plane you can fly, and get there, but you can't really do much once you're there because, like I said, it's not really finished. But it's just interesting that they left it in there. And then I saw this really cool Easter egg where there's this one part. You go to this barren parking lot. I can't remember where it is in the game, but
Mm-hmm.
if you have like a diesel or something that you can park by the wall, you can jump up on top of the diesel and go above the wall. And there's a big plaque there that says you are not supposed to be able to get to where you are now.
Yeah, I remember usually hitting into the parking lots and going up to like the top floor or the second to top floor, uh, to avoid like the helicopters, and then just kind of hold out there. And then oftentimes at the top of parking lots, there's always some sort of ramp, and that's always usually fun to find out where you end up with that.
Yeah. What did you think about the missions? I thought some were easy, some were frustrating, and some feel impossible when you first do them. That's how I felt. When I say impossible, like there's some missions that you'll spend 5, 6, maybe even close to 10 minutes driving, right? And then you'll get there and you'll die because a guy is like hidden above you with an assault rifle that you had no idea was there, or like then you'll go back and there'll be another guy hidden, and it's like you almost have to trial by error learn where all these people are if you're not watching a guide before.
Yeah, in some missions you definitely have to know your exits before you go in, and but yeah, for me, there's a variety of stuff. Like there's some, if you want to do street races, you can go to those and stuff. But as far as like the story progression things, it's like go pick this up, go do this, and go drop a bomb here. Some of them, like you said, are really challenging. Like there's this one where you have to go take out like an armored car, but every time you hit this armored car, you get immediately 2 stars. So as you're trying to like get this armored car to convince them to get out of the car so you can go steal the armored car, you've got like all these cops all over you because, like I said, every time you touch that armored car, like you'll immediately get 2 stars. So if you go like what I was doing, I was losing the 2 stars and then going back to it, and I was like, this isn't gonna work like this. But the problem is I had the wrong car, because I was trying to hit an armored car. You can't hit them very much if you're like in a regular car. And then if you get a big car, the hard part is now it's a slow one. It's a big truck.
Hmm.
But then the one thing I had, like the controls for shooting and doing things are are really really old at this point. And like one of the missions is they gave me a bunch of hand grenades and say go take out these vans that are driving around or trucks that are driving around, and to throw a grenade on something while it's driving down the street, while it's moving down the street, uh, proved to be difficult. So you're right. At some of these, there's definitely an imbalance in some of these quests in its difficulty, and oftentimes you have to play it a few times to kind of figure out a way that it'll work for you to complete it.
Yeah, but I did feel like the missions did the best of showing you what you can do with the game.
Oh yeah, and the storylines with the dialogue of the characters is so good with the voice acting that you definitely want to keep going.
Yeah, I think that's one thing we should talk about is the cutscenes were amazing for its time.
Oh, real amazing.
Like if you compare it to other video games at the time, you'll notice that other video games people don't really move a lot. They just kind of stand there when they're talking. But if you look at Grand Theft Auto 3, the characters are moving. They move to emphasize words. The acting was just incredible. They had some really A-list actors on there for a video game. It was just cutting edge at the time.
Yeah, like you said, the character is Claude. He escapes from prison. He goes and does a bunch of jobs for a bunch of gangsters and criminals and stuff, all different things. So it hits on a bunch of different like genres and stuff of that gangster over the years, and with the voice actors, the talent of these people that lent their voice to these characters really added to like the whole thing, because you had not only were they having like music and stuff for things like Scarface, but they had Rob Lagoya that's actually in Scarface doing the voices of one of the gangsters, and then Michael Madison, amazing voice actor, and he's in it doing playing like Tony Capri. Like it sounds like great. And then just you have Frank Vincent, which is from Martin Scorsese films, Joe Pantoliano, which is in a number of movies. He was in Sopranos, and then you got Kyle MacLachlan, which I love in Dune, and he's in Twin Peaks and other movies. And Michael Rappaport, he's been in a bunch of different things and Spike Lee movies as well. Just a top talent, and because like the last generation, they were just starting to get to like paid voice actors, because right before that it was just like the developers in a closet doing the voice acting. This is a big jump.
I think it's important to realize that voice acting will never. This was like a leap in voice acting
Mm-hmm.
for the game and the cutscenes as well. It just basically brought it to the next level and set the stage for the later Grand Theft Autos. One of the things I did want to talk about was the gang members and how they turn against you when you cross them in the story. And I also want to talk about the missions a little bit. Like, I felt like the missions didn't scale up with how long you've been playing the game. I thought they were just kind of all over the place. Like, you get an easy mission, then a hard mission, then
Mm-hmm.
two easy missions, then an impossible mission. It feels like.
Yeah, that definitely feels like something as we played all the other follow-up Grand Theft Autos that they got better at it in doing the missions. But yeah, for this one, definitely, it doesn't feel like there's a gradual incline of difficulty as far as there's like peaks and valleys.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things is that as you progress the story and as you turn again or cross gang members, they start to fight you in the city, which makes it even harder to go through the city and do missions. When you first start playing the game, like you'll drive by and some people are shooting some people, and you're like, "What is going on over there?" You can get into the fight if you want, or just drive by. But later on, people are actually trying to attack you, which is not fun. Especially later on, the mafia people carry these shotguns that could just like really just kill you in like one or two shots. So it gets really difficult.
Yeah, once you learn where certain things are in the map, like where body armor is or where certain guns are, it's definitely always good to remember those locations. That was one thing I was trying to remember. I didn't, as much as I can remember driving around, that those details are things that I had forgot. But once I kind of located a few of those, like, yep, this is where I used to go to get all ready to go into a mission.
Yeah, and it's just like any other game, right? The more you play it, the more you familiarize yourself with it. But in this case, you actually start to memorize the city like you really would a real city. So you start to realize, hey, like if I take a right here, I'll get to where I need to go, or where I need to go is only 3 blocks over to the left, so I can just kind of make my way however I want to.
Yeah, and this game really felt like a living city. So like if you stole like a taxi cab, you could actually go into like a taxi cab mode and start picking people up and dropping them off if you wanted to or whatever.
I didn't know this, but you could do this the same thing with the ambulance, right? You could actually
Hmm.
pick up the ambulance and start taking people to the hospital to earn some money.
Yeah, you can steal an ambulance and start doing rounds.
That's pretty funny.
I think you can do the same thing with a fire truck, although I don't think you can get to the location. You can't really get out and start putting the fire out.
While you're driving the car, the radio plays, and you have the choice of several radio stations. I think the music is just awesome and really matches.
Such great choices.
Yeah, it are great choices. My favorite, though, is the talk radio. It's just hilarious, and it lets you know where people were in 2001. Because kind of like not just this GTA, but all GTAs, their talk radio is kind of like almost like a true telling of what we're thinking at that time, in a comical way.
Yeah, done in parody in a way.
Yes.
It's like very satire.
So back in 2001, like reality TV was taking off like crazy. Like every reality TV show new reality TV shows were popping up left and right. Survivor was doing great. And so they talk a lot about that. And they talk, it's just funny. Like they'll sit there and be in the middle of a conversation. Like, wait a minute, it's been 2 minutes since we had an ad. Let's go ahead and play an ad,
Yeah, and then the ads are ridiculous as well. And I love how it's also I love the little details and how depending on what kind of car you steal and where you steal it, what their radio station they were listening to when you get in their car and stuff. So like if you get some high-end classy car, sometimes it's playing like the classical music radio station or and different ones for others. But of course you can quickly tune into whatever station you like. But yeah, the radio was just so good in that game. It was so nice. I know like later other versions and stuff, like I think the Xbox version stuff, you could, since it allowed you to like rip your CDs onto the system, you could have like custom soundtracks. But to be honest, the soundtrack that included all the radio stations was so well, cultivated that those were so much fun listening to. But like you mentioned, the talk radio was gold.
Yeah, that's what I always listen to. But what I thought was really neat though is that the radio stations are like real radio stations, right? Like you'll have kind of like your hip hop rap radio station, then you have like kind of like rock or pop radio station. It was really neat.
Oh yeah, it was really funny. I was listening to one of like the 80s and 70s like radio station, and like the DJ was like, "Yeah, it's like here we live in the 70s and 80s, and we never left it."
Yeah. That's pretty good.
And they just playing 80s hits. It was hilarious.
One of the things I just want to talk about is this Grand Theft Auto is made and kind of like how I think most video games should be made. And I think we've kind of lost this, is that I think a video game should be made to carry out a fantasy, right? Whether it's like you got a sword and a shield and you're taking on, big bosses or something like that. Or, in this case, basically it's a city and you feel like when you play it, you're like, oh my God, I can do whatever I want. There's no consequences. I can run over people. I can jack a police car. I can shoot at people if I want to. I can fight the cops. I can get a tank. There's all these different things.
Go find a prostitute and get your health back.
And you know what's funny is that the whole prostitute thing, you really don't see anything. You just see a car moving. And like that was such a big controversy back in 2001.
See a car bounce up and down and your health going up.
That's pretty funny. The health goes up. But yeah, like we're very vanilla in today's standards. I don't understand what the big hoopla was about that. It was just like, yeah, that's just something that was a big deal back in the day that just nowadays it's so modest. It's like there's not much to it,
It's a far cry from the later like hot coffee, but it's still very tame, and it's just like so many little details in this game. There's just so much that you kind of pick up and you explore, and it's just like you said, it's a sandbox. So when this game came out, like people were really experimenting and seeing what they could do, and it was fun.
Yeah, it was definitely very fun. And I think this is one of the things that really brought adult gaming to the scene, right? Like before this, we did have adult games or adult things, but this is like what really brought it over the top. Hey, there's an audience for mature content in video games,
Well, I mean, that's kind of the thing. It seemed was happening as the video game industry was getting older and growing up. Like the audience that played video games when they were kids were kind of continuing to be catered to as they were growing up, so that at this point, like the mature games were kids that were playing the Super Nintendo back in the day. So yeah, I definitely ran across friends of mine who, hadn't played video games in a while. Maybe they skipped the whole PlayStation N64 generation. But when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out and that was going on, like they had a PlayStation 2 and they were playing that. And of course they led to some other games, but yeah, this was a real system seller. It came out about a year after the PlayStation 2 launched, but when this game came out and a few other games came out around this time, like that system was hitting on all cylinders with this release.
I think we should talk a little bit about the definitive editions. They came out in 2001, if I believe right.
No, the game came out in 2001.
Oh, I mean 2021. Sorry, Grand Theft Auto 3 Definitive Edition came out in a trilogy that had like the two Grand Theft Autos that followed it up on the PlayStation 2. So it was like the whole PlayStation 2 package in one. And they really did a good job of making the graphics better and everything, but they're really true to the game. They left in the cheats and everything that allow you to do everything that you remember from the past. They came out to a rocky start. There was a lot of bugs. Things didn't look right. It was mostly made by AI.
Yeah, the rain looked horrible. The coloring was off.
Yeah, but they got it. They've done several patches since, and it holds up pretty good.
Oh yeah, they did solid by sticking with it and like fixing a lot of those issues. And now it's very serviceable and it's very accessible.
It's a really nice touch that they were able to touch up those games. And I know they did it because they're going to sell them for another 20 years, and then we might get another upres or something. I don't know, but it's just interesting. It's interesting that they stuck with it and kept it going,
Mm-hmm.
so that they could be a quality product. Because I was a little worried about Rockstar releasing it in the state it was, the definitive editions.
Yeah, because at first it felt like a very low effort re-release.
Yes, exactly.
They initially had come these reports of like the mobile version, which came out like 10 years after the original one. Because I have like all three of these on my iPad, and they came and it's like the 10th anniversary. But they, like you said, they after they came out and it got plenty of slack for its problems, they've actually stuck with it and kept patching it. And yeah, and the state it is in today is a lot more accurate to its more original release. And it looks great on the TV and widescreen and everything, and plays off my current console, so it's easy to deal with.
That's something I didn't even think about. Is that the original was 4:3 and the definitive edition is widescreen. I don't know. I mean, I know that, but I didn't ever really think about how much of a game changer that is.
Yeah, the Xbox had a widescreen one, but yeah, the PlayStation 2 wasn't widescreen.
Yeah, it later got released on the Xbox, but originally it was a PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah, for the longest time.
Yeah, I think Sony paid for it to be a PlayStation exclusive, or at least they did for later ones. I'm not sure about the first one.
Yeah, I can imagine if they didn't pay for Grand Theft Auto 3 to be exclusive, they definitely were happy to pay for the rest.
So, what are your final thoughts on Grand Theft Auto, Brian?
Well, it's definitely a franchise that's lasted, and I'm extremely excited to see the next one. It's interesting too, like as you mentioned, 3 of these games came out in one console cycle, so it's fun to revisit it. I'm glad they have the trilogy. Going back, like I said, I was amazed on how quick I was at like knowing where to go and playing the game, even though I had played it a lot. Just driving around the city of Liberty City and knowing my way around, it's great. Like there are some things that have just not aged as well. Like the shooting is just not nearly as fun as like the later versions of Grand Theft Auto. So going back to that is a little hard. And as we mentioned, some of the mission difficulty spikes can be frustrating. But it's a cool game to go back to. It's definitely fun. And if you're not the only one playing it, where you can kind of go back and forth on missions and stuff, it's a great kind of a shared experience for that. To be fair, like as we've mentioned, or we haven't really mentioned, the follow-ups being Vice City and San Andreas, those two are just way more enticing to go back to more than playing this one. Although this one does have, a lot of things going for it. San Andreas is one I'd be more interested in spending more time exploring if I had a choice. And Vice City is great too, just because the 80s setting in like Miami is incredible.
Yeah, I would say if you're interested in getting the collection, which is on sale for like $23 right now on the PlayStation, that I would start with Grand Theft Auto 3 because it's going to be harder to go back to it once you play Vice City and San Andreas.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a good way to go about playing them if you're new to the series.
My final thoughts on it is that it's a great game. It really stretched the technology at the time. The cutscenes were amazing. The acting was amazing. The city was amazing. What you could do in the city was amazing. The freedom that you had.
And the cheat codes too. Like I said, when we were playing around, going back and forth with this, we got really good with the cheat codes. I even printed them out and had them in the game case. So any friend that came by wanted to play it, they could easily look up the codes. After a while, we had them memorized.
Once you go cheat code, you don't go back.
Yeah, back then, there was no trophies or achievements to worry about. So there was no downside in putting any cheat codes. But it was a lot of fun, just like I said, putting in the cheat codes and running around with all the guns and any car you wanted.
I think the cheat codes were great, and I think it really compounded the fun of Grand Theft Auto 3. It just allowed you to do more chaos and more freedom. One of the neat things about this game is that people really enjoyed, just going around the city and causing destruction, which really gave you like this fantasy feeling where you can be part of a city and just go crazy, and then you can put down the controller and you're still a good person, normal person, everything. It doesn't affect you, but I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and I also like that there's all these ramps that you see in different parts of the map. So if you wanted to, like, you could make it your mission to go seek them all out and try to do all the jumps. And even though that's not part of the game, story or anything, it's part of the game. It's there for you to explore. But it's just there's these all little things like that are out there that you can do, and it's fun and it is part of the game. But it's not like a requirement or anything. It's just your choice.
Yep, I totally agree. So, what are you up to this week, Brian?
Well, this week, I'm going to continue to work on some more writing for the website and such, and I'm going to pick up a few more games, and I think I'm going to be playing more Super Mario Brothers. How about yourself?
This week I'm going to be doing a lot of work on my yard. There's some things I got to do that I don't have to do like every week, but I'm going to do them. And then this week I'm going to be working on trying to get my daughter through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth so we can just finally put that down. And then I'm going to try and play some more games. I think I might go back to Vice City after this, after playing Grand Theft Auto 3. That kind of got me in the mood for more Grand Theft Auto, to be honest.
Yeah, the motorcycles are a lot of fun in Vice City.
It's like the next step up. I mean, the fact that they were able to do Vice City on the PS2, that's something we got to cover one time.
Sure, that'll be fun.
But Grand Theft Auto 3 stands on its own. I just think it's a totally awesome game. So I might play that more this week before I move on to another game. I really enjoyed it. So where can people find you online, Brian?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Yeah, as you mentioned, you can find me online at Nostalgic Pixel on X, Blue Sky, Instagram. I also have a YouTube channel, Nostalgic Pixel, and my Twitch channel is Nostalgic Pixel TV. That's where you'll be seeing me stream things like earlier was Grand Theft Auto 3. And lastly, my website, nostalgicpixel.com.
Awesome.
How about yourself?
You can find me at Trowin Brian on X. We want to thank you for listening to the show. If you liked it, please give us a 5-star review on your podcast app of choice. And you can follow us on Patreon at The Legendary Backlog. It's free. It'll give you access to all our sites. We're just trying to build a community of people who love games. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening.